They said they left the palace to live with purpose. But now, Meghan and Harry's charity empire is facing the kind of questions no glossy Instagram post can fix. From sudden resignations and public investigations to whispers of lavish spending, the fairy tale brand is looking more like a cautionary tale. And what's coming next could be their biggest reckoning yet. When Meghan Markle and Prince Harry walked away from royal life in 2020, they didn't just give up titles and tiaras. They sold the world a new vision of philanthropy. The Sussex Royal Foundation, later rebranded as the X Foundation, was supposed to be different. No rigid traditions, no centuries-old bureaucracy, just modern, impact-driven charity with a global reach. The promise was bold: to use their freedom, fame, and connections to make change faster than the palace ever could. From the start, the branding was flawless. High-production videos, emotional speeches about mental health, equality, and climate change. Celebrity endorsements. It felt fresh, relatable, even rebellious. To their supporters, Meghan and Harry weren't just running a charity. They were rewriting the rules for how royalty could change the world. But behind that polished debut was a short timeline that raised quiet questions. Within months, the X Foundation was dissolved. The official explanation? A necessary move to shift their operations to the US under a new banner, the Archewell Foundation. But for some, it was the first crack in the carefully built image. Why launch something so grand, only to shut it down so quickly? And that question would only grow louder in the years to come. The MX shutdown didn't go unnoticed. A UK Charity Commission review found no illegal activity, but it did flag how much money went into starting and closing the charity, rather than funding projects. That single detail planted a seed of doubt. On social media, whispers began. Was this a bold new model for charity, or just an expensive rebrand? Archewell was supposed to erase those doubts. In 2021, it pulled in nearly $13 million, with millions going to refugee aid, vaccine access, and mental health programs. On paper, it looked solid. But in 2024, a tiny paperwork delay in California sparked a delinquency notice, quickly resolved, but enough to set the internet on fire. Critics called it sloppy. Supporters called it a smear. Either way, the headlines stuck. And they came just months before a much bigger storm hit. That storm came from Africa, and it had nothing to do with Meghan. Sentabele, the charity Harry co-founded in 2006 to help vulnerable children in Lesotho and Botswana, was suddenly in crisis. Allegations of poor leadership and internal conflict tore through the organization. At the center was its chair, Dr. Sophie Chandoka, accused by insiders of creating a toxic environment. The UK Charity Commission cleared Harry of any wrongdoing, but it also criticized the charity's governance and the fact that the infighting played out so publicly. Within weeks, Harry and co-founder Prince Siaiso resigned in solidarity with departing trustees. The headlines called it a walkout. Supporters called it loyalty. But to many watching, it looked like Harry was stepping away from the last stable piece of his charity legacy and stepping straight into uncharted territory. Then came the quiet moves. The kind that don't make flashy headlines but speak volumes. Some corporate partners began reviewing their deals with Archewell. A few scaled back donations. Others quietly removed the foundation's logo from their websites. One flashpoint came in 2024, when Archewell pulled funding from a Milwaukee nonprofit over hateful speech concerns. The decision drew praise from some, backlash from others, and raised an uncomfortable question. Were donors starting to see Archewell as a risk rather than a badge of honor? And that's when the rumor machine kicked into overdrive. Online, the whispers became a roar. Posts claimed lavish travel was billed as charity work, and that donations were funneled through shadowy shell companies. None of it has been proven in any official report, but in the court of public opinion, proof often matters less than perception. The mix of verified facts, like the admin spending and the Sentabele governance issues, with unverified claims created a perfect storm. Every new headline, no matter how minor, got twisted into a bigger story. Supporters saw unfair targeting. Critics saw patterns they'd been calling out for years. And with each rumor, one truth became harder to deny. The Meghan and Harry charity brand was no longer untouchable. This isn't just Meghan and Harry's problem anymore. It's a warning shot to every celebrity-led charity. Lawmakers in the UK and the US are now talking about stricter oversight, mandatory third-party audits, tighter rules on spending, and public disclosure of exactly where donations go. For the Sussexes, that means the brand they built on trust will face more eyes, more rules, and less room for missteps. And for the entire industry, it's a reminder that in today's world, the line between inspiration and suspicion is thinner than ever.